Well, I started off with Western boxing. I've got an amateur record of 10-0. When I was about 18 years old, it was the first time I went to Thailand. I've basically been training in Thailand for the last 10 years. What happened was a few years back, I met Matt Thornton from the Straight Blast Gym, started training with him, started adding a ground game into the entire game that we do now. I think more than anybody else in the last few years, the person that's inspired me the most is Matt. I've always known that what we did was functional. I had a real problem though with the way people perceived it. I wasn't too sure that there was any other gyms out there that did the same thing that we did. So basically now we train stand and clinch and ground, a complete game. It's quite unique where we are in South Africa. There's a lot of traditional martial arts schools. We tend to be very non-traditional, very functional, reality-based. It's really growing. South Africa is a really violent country. You tend to get into a lot of fights. I found I was getting beaten up all the time. It's one of the reasons why I started boxing. One of my friends suggested boxing was a good thing to do. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to work on power combinations. A lot of people come to me, ask for combinations. The ultimate test at the end of the day, and the way you're going to learn combinations in sparring. I think that's probably the best way that you can do that. You learn that what works for you personally. Certain combinations don't work depending on your size and the way you fight. What we're going to do though is we're going to work some power combinations that are normally very common in boxing, things that you see all the time, generally work really, really well. We're going to show you a little bit of a different slant, the way we do it, the way we move our body. Even if you have boxing, this might be new to you. First one we're going to work is a lead jab to a lead hook. This is sort of how we're going to do this. We'll work that lead jab and then a lead hook. And the way we do that is we take a step out. The most important reason why I'm taking a step out is because a lot of people tend to, when they throw the hook, they just throw it with their arm. It becomes an arm hook. And you'll find that it's really, really hard to get a lot of power in that. When he takes that step out, it becomes a really hard hook. Okay. Also what that does, especially the way I'm standing now, if he throws a jab and I throw a cross, he's going to step out and I'm going to miss the cross and he's going to come back with the hook. So we're going to move around, work that combination, 1, 2, just keep going. Moving around, taking that step out. Now, that's a really good combination. The lead jab to the lead hook is something I use all the time. Really underrated, real good combination. That step out's really, really important. You tend to miss a lot of things on the way through there. It's real hard for him to hit you when you do that. You're getting your whole body behind the hook. It obviously adds a lot of power.
I sparred with Rodney the other night. I was very impressed by his hand speed and his abilities. He doesn't fight like the normal showboaty style boxer. He's very meticulous. He breaks you down. He was able to pick up some of my weaknesses really quickly and exploit them. He hits like a mule for a light guy, and so I would definitely take the opportunity and train with him if you could.
Next combination, a really good combination. We're going to work a jab cross. So we just work the jab cross, uppercut cross. Again, this is a good combination. A lot of people, when they throw uppercuts, for example, tend to throw an uppercut, and when they miss, they forget to follow up. And that's really important. Just because you miss with the uppercut doesn't mean that you can't follow up. And this is a habit that you want to acquire all the time. So this combination looks like this. It'll be jab, cross, uppercut, cross. Obviously, if, for example, he missed that uppercut, it would look something like this. He would miss the uppercut and come back with a cross. The same thing if we were sparring. If he went jab, cross, uppercut, jab, cross, and I moved my head back and he came back with a cross, he'd still be able to hit me. You want to always acquire that skill. So we'll move around, jab, cross, uppercut, and the cross. There we go, moving around. That's a really good combination. And one more time. And like we've done from the beginning of this tape, I can take that power combination now and add the strike in. I can just add a single strike in, be it a hook or a jab, working off the pads like we did before, or I can add in 4 strikes and then make him come back. Okay, next power combination we're going to work is a really good combination. I use this, again, I'm using combinations that I use all the time, and I find that consistently in sparring, you tend to get them a lot of times and really get good knockouts off this. The next one basically is a jab to the head, jab to the body, and an overhand. And what we're going to do here quickly is we're just going to show you the way we do this, because a lot of people misunderstand how to do a jab to the body. So when my partner's in front of me, we work a jab to the head, jab to the body, and you'll see what he's done. He's bent down and he's leaning a little bit off to the side. And what a lot of people do is he'll work a jab but just stand straight up. And all that really means is the easiest thing for me to do there is I'm going to hit him. And the reason why is because in order for him to hit me in the body here, he has to basically come really, really close. If you look at it like this, I take a step back in order for the jab. He's now here. I'm going to hit him really hard. I don't even have to take a step in order to do damage. So you want to make sure that you bend off to the side. What that does, though, it makes it really hard for me to counterattack that. So when he works a jab to the head, jab to the body, my next shot's going to be right over his head. I'm not going to be able to hit him. It's real hard. So it's really hard for me to counter. Now what he's going to do is he's going to work a jab to the head, jab to the body. He's going to come with an overhand. The most important thing now on the overhand is he wants to take a step off to the side. So it would be jab to the head, jab to the body, step off to the side, and come with the overhand. Really important to take the step off to the side. Well, the real reason for that, besides anything else, one, I'm going away from his punches. Two, I'm opening up my hip. Anytime I open up my hip, I'm going to be able to put a lot more power into my punch. So work that combination. 1, 2, and take a step, overhand. There we go, moving around. That's it. We're going to make it a little bit quicker. That's it. That's nice and good. There we go. You can see there's a lot of power in that overhand now. If I tell my partner not to take that step on the overhand, look what happens. Don't step. It just stops. There's nothing behind it. When he stepped off to the side, he can drive that overhand right through the focus mitt, which means if it's obviously the focus mitt now is my head, he's going to drive right through. And that's where you're going to get your knockout. If you don't take that step, you're going to hit and you're going to stop. You won't be able to push through. So we'll do that one more time. We'll see the push through. There we go. It goes right through the pad. That's it. There we go. That's it. And one more time. Okay, next power combination we're going to work is a real basic combination, really underrated. The reason why people can't pull this off, their body mechanics is normally incorrect. Work a jab cross to a shovel hook. What you tend to find that most people, when they work a jab cross shovel hook, they tend to do this, work the jab, the cross, and do that, leave their head still standing up. Real simple reason why that's incorrect, because a lot of times, real simple for him to come back with a jab or a cross and counter that. What you really want to do is you want to be able to get your weight back onto your lead leg, and from the lead leg position, you bring it back up to the shovel hook. So we're going to show you how that's done. Just move around working the jab cross shovel hook. Okay, really important when I work that shovel hook, I bend down, put the weight into my lead leg, and then bring it back up. Second thing that's important, this hand on the other side, I make sure I keep it by my face at all times, which you find a lot of times people work a jab, cross, shovel hook, and take the hand away from their face. And that's the easiest way for you to get knocked out. So we'll move around, jab, cross, shovel hook. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, really important. Twist your body. Make sure you get that twist. Put the weight on the lead knee, and then bring it up. Make sure that, to show you without the glove, what I want to do is I want to turn my hand. I want to make sure I turn my hand up. I want to try and get my hand into those short ribs. That's what's going to break the ribs. Big mistake. A lot of times people tend to do this. This is not a good punch. You want to make sure you turn it up as much as you can. That's why it's called a shovel hook. It's like picking up a shovel all the time. From here, work jab, cross, shovel hook. Making sure, put the weight on the lead leg, bring it back up, move around, and move around. Yeah, and keep moving. A couple more times. And one more time. I carried on doing boxing right through the army. I went to the military. Heard about Thai boxing from a a person that had been training overseas and said it was a really good style to train. I basically packed up everything, went to Thailand, stayed there the first time for 3 months, stayed in a Thai camp, training Thai boxing every single day. You know, if anybody knows anything about the Thai camps in Thailand, they train 6 hours a day. It was a good experience, a good opportunity, changed the boxing perspective for me, because now obviously there's elbows and knees and kicks. Basically just carrying on from there. The next thing we're going to look at, real simple, is basically what type of hand strikes are really effective for the street. Obviously, when you're working in boxing, you have boxing gloves on. Generally, you've wrapped your hands. You can punch really, really hard and not really hurt your hands to a large degree. When you're working out on the street, though, what's going to happen is you're obviously not going to have gloves on, and if you hit somebody, there's always the possibility of you breaking your knuckles. But the ultimate thing is, I would say always work your boxing, and at least if you win the fight, you can worry about the injuries the next day. But the best thing to think about is I try and always use closed hands on the street to the open body, or at least to the body, and I work open hand strikes to the head. Generally, because the head is much harder, that's generally where you're going to break your knuckles in the first place. What we're going to look at now is something that's really underrated, is an open hand slap, basically working to the side of the head. Most people don't even think about this or consider it. I would say it's one of the best tools you can use on the street. It has a shockwave effect. Generally, it has good knockout power, knocks out people a lot faster than, I would say, even a hook. And it's something you really want to acquire as a skill. Really good technique to work straight off the bat, something that you work straight off in a fight. Always works. Really good technique. We'll have a look at it now quickly. Good way to train this for now is on the focus mitt. What I'm trying to do here is basically cup my hand slightly, and I want to try and get a motion where I'm turning my whole body into the slap. And what it's going to look like and sound like is something like this. Okay? That's a really good motion. And the idea is I want to hit and push slightly down. I want to try and really come into him. The reason why I don't want to hit straight up is because if I hit straight up, my hand might, if he moves his head, is going to slide over the top of his head. If I hit in and down, even if I miss the ear, I'm going to hit him right here on the side of the neck, and that is just as painful as getting hit in the ear. It's also going to cover slightly part of his jaw. So the motion basically from here is turning my hip, and I want to turn my whole hip and my knee into the pad. So from here, that's the motion. And you can see it's a really strong motion, and I'm not doing this. I'm not swinging from here. I'm trying to keep my hands from here, nice and short, as I come in and get that motion. And that's a really good motion for the street. Something you want to practice as much as possible. Something that I tell most of my students, a good slap to the back of the head is probably one of the best knockout tools you have. Again, if you ever get an opportunity to pull somebody's head down and slap him behind the head, work the same thing, same mechanics, nothing changes. Really good technique, quick knockout, something you want to work on in the future. We're going to move on to some kickboxing now. I'm just going to explain my personal view on kickboxing, and again, take what you think is useful to yourself, and whatever you think you can't use, obviously you reject it. The most important thing here, in my opinion, kicking breaks the fundamental rule of fighting, which means keep balanced all the time. With that said, it doesn't mean that you should not practice kickboxing. You have to keep that into consideration. So what we really want to do is we want to keep all the kicks really, really low. I think that's effective no matter if you're fighting in a no-holds-barred event or you're fighting out on the street. Low kicks are really, really effective. They work really well. It's a risk to try and kick somebody high. Obviously, there have been, even in no-holds-barred competitions, there have been knockouts with high kicks. But generally, statistically, if you take, say, 200 people, most people cannot learn how to kick. So after 2 years, you have about 199 people still really struggling, and maybe one person has actually got it down. I find in my gym, for example, the quickest thing that people learn is the clinch in boxing. Then comes the kicks, and most people tend not to use the kicks too often, because once you add grappling into a game, which everybody knows now, no-holds-barred is one of the major players. Once you add grappling into a game, your kickboxing has to change, and then you have to be really careful, especially on high kicks, because of the takedowns. I'm going to go through some basic kicks. Most of you might know these kicks, but what I'm going to do is going to change maybe a little bit, look at a different way of looking at the kick. Again, keep an open mind, and then obviously you want to try and use them as much as possible.
Well, the good thing about all the people with the straight blast, including Rodney, we've got instructors all over the country now and all over the world. and they're very similar in temperament and nature. We get along real well. They're all honest, reputable people. And the same thing with his students. He treats them well. He doesn't have an ego that's concerned about getting there. He spars with all his students just as we do. And I think that's something that's fairly rare. Most of the traditional martial arts guys, they'll sit back and watch the sparring, but they have too much to lose, so they don't really want to get in there and mix it up because they might look bad.
I'm going to start off with is real simple. It's a real basic round kick, working off the back leg. This is a basic Muay Thai kick. I'm going to show you the biggest mistakes that people make, and then we're going to fix it. Generally, what happens when somebody throws a round kick to the thigh, this is a really good kick. The problem is most people tend to not move their front leg. This is a big problem when you watch people kicking. What happens is they tend to do this. They stand, they throw the kick, but they don't move the knee. Now, besides the fact that every time you do this, you're turning on your knee, eventually down the road, if you do it for 10, 15 years, you're going to have a lot of knee problems. What you're really doing is you're stopping the power base. The power base always comes from your hips. So what you need to do then is open the hips. A real simple way to think about this, if I'm standing in front of the pad, I draw a triangle on the floor. Basically the point of the triangle is in front of my legs, and I have two angles at approximately 45 degrees. Obviously these angles will change once we start moving. The idea is I want to step, open up my hips, and then put the kick in. So basically the idea is this: I step and open and put the kick in. Okay? Really important to take that step. Step and then kick. You never ever want to stand on one spot and throw the kick. Okay, that will come later on. You'll see kicks like that. Those kicks are more for NHB, for no holds barred competition. Reason is really pretty simple. You'll see most Thai fighters when they kick, they'll throw a kick and spin right through. This is a really good motion. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I think it's really important that you need to train it that way. And the reason why you need to train it that way, because it gives you good body mechanics. Basically, if you're kicking at 10 all the time, which will be the highest power base that you have, kicking 10 all the time, driving through the target. Now when you stand like this and the pad is on the side and you're doing more of a Vale Tudo style kick, you're still going to be able to get power because you've been kicking at 10 all the time. If you just practice your kick at, say, 7, which is here, it's only going to ever stay there. You're never going to be able to get the complete motion and the complete hip motion. So what you really want to get is you want to get the step out the side and then drive. The idea, obviously, like in all good kicks, is never to kick with the foot, always to kick with the bottom part of the shin. That's really important. Obviously, if you pick your shin up in the way, you're going to break your toe. So what you want to do here, take the step to the side. I'm going to show you a couple of times. See what I'm doing. Step and then kick. Okay? Making sure I step and then kick. All right? When you're training with somebody and you don't have a pad like this, you always want to bend your knee in. You bend your knee in so basically you don't hurt him. Okay? The idea would be with a pad, because it's a good pad and I can kick quite hard, the idea is to drive through, step and drive. Okay? Second thing that I'm trying to do is I always keep my hands up. I want to keep my hands up. A lot of tendency, you especially see, I've trained in Thailand for 10 years. You tend to see Thai boxers do this. And drop their hand. That's okay for balance, and I understand why they're doing it, but the problem with that is it opens you up for strikes. The best way to beat a kicker is to do what? Is to box him, to work boxing. If I work rushing and I work boxing, easy way to beat a kicker. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to get into the habit of start kicking like this, because if he starts rushing me with strikes, I'm going to get knocked out. I want to make sure keep my hands up and drive the kick in. Second thing I want to do is I want to make sure I lean back on the kick. And the reason why I'm leaning back on the kick is so it becomes harder for him to strike me. A lot of people have a tendency to throw a kick like this. And you'll see just now when we progress it and we start working with the gloves, that's going to be very dangerous. He's just going to stick his jab out and keep hitting me. So I want to make sure I step and turn my hip. Now that's for the rear round kick. Real simple motion. One more time. Step off to the side. Next one that you see a lot of now is the lead round kick. The lead round kick basically is a similar move. What I want to do is I don't want to necessarily just step up and kick. The idea is okay, but you don't get enough power. So what I want to do is work exactly what I said earlier on. I've got that triangle on the floor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step on the triangle and then turn my foot in. Step on the triangle with my rear leg, turn the foot in. Okay? So it's this motion. Okay? Taking the step, turn. Take the step, turn. Okay, really important to take that step. If I don't step, I'm going to leave my hip behind. If I leave my hip behind, I said that before, I'm going to have no power in the kick. I've got to take a step and turn in. Okay, we'll basically take the step and turn. So the motion looks like this. Okay, really important. Get the step. Take the step. And one more step. Okay, next one that's real good combination is just working that stomp kick. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to work a double jab. So work jab, jab, come up, stomp the front of the leg. Work the same thing. That's it. That's a good kick, especially if you've got shoes on. There we go. We'll keep moving around. You can obviously do this off the rear leg, but generally the lead leg is the best leg for this. It's real quick and keep it nice and simple. I generally try and never ever kick off the back leg unless it's a rear round kick or a rear front kick. I try and keep it as simple as possible. I think it becomes very dangerous when you start trying to throw side kicks off the back leg. You have lots of opportunity to make mistakes. If you make a mistake there, you're going to basically pay for it. Sure, I've trained with a lot of JKD instructors. Again, the straight blast gym, the real difference is it's functional training. The one thing I like the best about the straight blast group is they don't do that goofy trapping stuff. That's just a load of nonsense. Work the lead side kick now. Just work keeping it real simple. Work a jab, lead side kick. But the way we work the side kick now is I want to try and get my knee to my elbow. Okay. So what I want to do is I don't want to do this. Okay, because that's not really going to do any damage. What I want to try and do here is jab and bring it up and down. Okay, I really want to stomp right into his legs. So I'm moving around, jab, bring up, and then down. And my partner does it. Jab up and down. There we go. This is a good kick. Jab up and down. The reason why I like these stomp kicks, because even if I miss, I'm back into my fighting stance. If I do this and I miss, I'm going to go right past and walk into a cross. If I do a stomp kick and I miss, not a big deal. I miss and I'm still here. Good base, good position. The last one we're going to cover, this is more of a shoe kick. It's something you want to do when you've got shoes on. It's called an inverted kick, doing it off the rear leg. Again, I can just work a jab for this so you can see, keep it simple. Jab and invert to the thigh. Okay? Underrated. Most people don't think it's really effective. It's not that effective if you haven't got shoes on. It's something you really want to do if you have shoes on. It then becomes a really good kick if you've got heavy shoes on, like working shoes. So we're going to move around and work that one now. Just work a jab to an invert. There we go. Key here, jab, get my knee up and come down. Still a stomp kick. There we go. Good motion. Always want to stomp into the kneecap. Keep moving it around. So one more time. Okay, next thing what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and we're going to work some basic drills. The idea in all my tapes is not so much teaching you technique, although that is important, but to really give you the principles, things that are going to help you out in sparring, because that's really where it matters the most. Again, this is the way I see it. It works really well in my gym. I always tell all my guys to always use their hands to set up their kicks and not the other way around. I think it's a really dangerous move to kick first. And the reason is because a person can shoot and put you on the ground, and if you miss the kick, you always get set up on the other side and he can work his hands. So what you want to do is you want to work boxing first and then set up the kicks. There's really 3 times that are really good for me to kick. The first time is when my partner is backing up. The reason why that's good is because I'm going to use my hands to get him to back up and then throw a kick. It becomes very difficult for him to change levels and shoot, which means to put me on the ground. It's also very hard for him to counter with his strikes. The best time for him to counter with strikes against a kick is when I'm standing still and I throw a kick and then he throws a cross and I walk straight into it. That's one of the reasons why I never want to kick first. So what you tend to do here is you get your partner to move back, and as you're moving back, you put the kick in. Okay, so we're going to show you that again. Get him to move back with your boxing and then put the kick in. Moving around, get him to move back and then put the kick in. One of the best combinations, again, always, I think, is to keep everything simple, not to get complex moves going. Simple is always the best. best simple combination in any kickboxing is a jab cross round kick. The way I like to do it though, what works really well for me, is I will use the jab to get him to move back. I will throw the cross, purposely miss the cross, so feint the cross, make it miss to set up the round kick. What it looks like if I do it slowly, it looks something like this. I work the jab, throw the cross to miss, and come back with a round kick. Okay? When I throw that cross to miss, instead of throwing it straight for his jaw, I tend to throw it a little bit high. And the reason why I'm throwing it high, I want him really to get his attention up on that cross. So as he comes forward, I move the jab, miss the cross, come back with a round kick. Okay, we're moving around, jab, miss the cross, come back with a round kick. Now, this is a really good combination. It's one that you can set up all the time. Really important to miss that cross first. You see what I'm doing though? Back what I said early on when we just looked at these kicks, I'm making sure that I step off to the side and bring the round kick in. Second thing I want to do is I want to try as much as possible keep my hands up. And so when I throw that kick, I'm keeping my hands up. I don't want to drop my hands. So if he throws a punch at me, I'm going to be leaning back, and that means it's going to miss. That's the first part of my defense, is to lean back. I don't want to stand upright. I said early on, if I stand upright, this happens, and I eat a punch. So I want to make sure that I lean. So if he does punch, generally it's going to go past me. Second rule is, if I don't lean enough, my hands are going to be covering. So he comes straight from my head, my hands are going to be covering. I want to keep my hands up. I'm going to do that again. Keep my hands up. That's really important, because the best counter for kicking always, and we'll look at that later on in the tape, is to work your boxing. Boxing's the best. Okay, early on I talked about that there's 3 basic times to throw a kick. The first time was when he's backing up. We've already covered that. Really doesn't matter. We're going to look at that. I'll put some combinations in, work different kicks where you'll see that. Second time, a really good time to put a kick in is when my partner is hurt. What generally happens is you come in, you hit him with a jab or a cross, and you catch him. If he's not completely knocked out, what's going to happen is he's going to tend to cover and do that. So we just, as we're moving around, as I hit him, and if he's covering because he's a little bit hurt, that's also a good time to put a kick in. Okay, that's the second time, the best time to put a kick in. So if you're moving around, working in boxing, you hit him with a good sharp punch, he tends to be a little bit hurt, you see that, good time to put a kick in. Why? Because he's going to be covering his head. He's hurt, he covers his head. Even if you throw punches to his head, it's going to be very difficult to get past those gloves. Even if there were no gloves, it's still going to be difficult to get past his hands. So the good opportunity then to put the kick in. The third time to throw a kick is when he's distracted. Okay, now how you distract him is we're moving around and maybe I throw a feint and then I put a kick in. That's also a good time to work it. Okay, so the 3 times to put kicks in is when I use my hands to back him up. As he's backing up, I put a kick in. Okay, real hard for him to get shin blocks, hard for him to shoot. Okay, real hard for him to counterattack with his punches. The second time is when I hurt him with my hands. Maybe I hit him with a punch. Boom, as I hit him, put the kick in. Right. Third time is when I distract him. That means I might be moving around and I work a feint and then I put a kick in. Those are the 3 times, best times. That's all the time you want to work. Hand and foot combinations. You always want to try and put your kicks in of one of those three things that I've talked about. Yeah, I think one of the most important things I've discussed this right through the theme basically is good defense. Again, really important to understand how to defend kicks. I think, again, the kicks that we've shown are generally the most common kicks. I mean, there are a lot of other kicks that you might see, but these are the ones that do the most damage, especially on the low line. We're going to look at how to defend those now. Again, there's 3 different types of defense for these kicks. I'm either going to shield it, which is something you see in Muay Thai, or I'm going to step out the way, which I prefer. It's better just not even to get hurt at all. Or I'm going to crash the line, which is obviously the third and probably one of the better things to do because then you can work your hands.
When we did the blocking of the kicks, instead of a normal shield, a normal Muay Thai shield, where I'm catching it on the middle of my leg, since I'm an amateur Muay Thai fighter and we wear shin pads when we fight Muay Thai, but those shin pads come off when I fight in the holds barred, and I'm definitely not nearly as conditioned as I should be. And I like the way that he brings his foot up a little bit and catches up higher, since in some of my no holds barred fights I have in the past walked out of the ring, even though I'd won, I'd walked out of the ring limping about 10 minutes later because of how much pain I'd caused myself in blocking some of those kicks.
And we're going to look at the shin block and the way I do it. real basic move here. What I want to try and do is still pull my toes up, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the bottom part just below my knee. This is probably where it's the strongest part of your shin. The easiest way for me to explain this to you is if you put a pole in the floor and you secure it at the top, the weakest point in that pole, if you hit it, is in the middle. So what I'm saying is you never want to try and shin block ever with the middle part of your leg. That's probably where you're going to get hurt the most. You want to try and really take it at the top. If you can't take it at the top, then you always take it just here below on the ankle. That also works. Better to take it on the top though, less injury to your knee. So what we're going to do is this, when he throws that kick, I'm just putting the leg in. From here, as it comes in, just put the shin in there. I'm pointing into it, putting that in, trying to drive the top part straight into that kick. If it comes the other side, doing the similar thing, you're really conditioned. Most Thai fighters in Thailand, for example, train 8 hours a day, every single day of their life, 360 days a year. When you start doing that, you really get good, you have strong shins, you can take a lot of punishment. For most people who are not training in that type of environment, it's a catch-22 situation. You need to learn how to shin block, but generally it's going to hurt. What I try to do now is just step out the way. That's something that I really like to do. It's not going to hurt me. If I do it correctly, I'm still in range where I can counterattack. So when my partner's in front of me now and he throws the round kick, I just pull my leg out the way. It's real simple. I try not to move my back leg though. I just want to work that lead leg. So the lead leg is just going to step back. As that lead leg steps back, as I step back in, I'm back in range to strike. So when he's moving around, I kick, step, and I'm back in range to strike. Around again, just do that, and move my leg out the way. Okay, so that's the second best way to counter a round kick, or any kick for that matter. Just get your leg out the way, especially if he's kicking to your leg. The last way is probably one of the best ways, is just basically just to crash. And what that really means now is as he kicks, I just move in and work my hands. The further I'm going to move up on his leg, the less power there's going to be. You imagine a baseball bat, when I swing it, the power is in the tip of the baseball bat. The further I go up, the less power it's going to be. So if I can time that and step in, I'm going to take basically all his power base away. That's really what I'm trying to achieve here. I can give you a good example. A couple of years back in my gym, we had some of our guys who went and competed in a kickboxing tournament. We don't really do kickboxing. And all I said to them was, don't worry about the rules. Every time he kicks, just get in there and work your boxing, work for the knockout. And basically what happened was at the end of the night, we won 6 matches. There were 6 fights from our side. We won all 6. Everybody got a gold medal. Everybody won a knockout. And how they did that was real simple. Every time he threw a kick, just step in and work the hands. This is where it brings me back to the point early on. Really important now. If he's throwing kicks and you want to try and avoid that to the best that you can, you want to make sure that you've been stepping out to the side and you want to make sure you lean back. You don't want to start getting into the habit of doing this. Okay, coming in straight. Because when you come in straight, I'm just going to hit him with my hands. So you want to make sure you lean back on the kick. When he throws that kick, I'm doing this. It's real hard for me to get in there. Also stretches him out, which means they have to cover more distance. But generally most people don't do that. So it's an advantage to be able to crash, get in there and work your hands. What we're going to cover now is we're going to cover some defense for high kicks. Again, in my gym, the only time we ever do high kicks is basically so we can work against it. We don't want to get caught off guard and be in a position that we've never seen it. When we're sparring, though, we try and minimize high kicks, keep everything nice and low, work a lot of boxing, work a lot of clinch, working elbows and knees. We're going to work some defense against those high kicks now. Again, what's really, really common is the round kick. It's something that I keep saying all the time. Generally, if you watch most no-hold-barred competitions, it's either a round kick or a front kick. Generally isn't anything else other than that. So I would say that these are the kicks that you really need to learn how to defend. What we're going to start with first, we're going to start with the rear round kick. He's going to be kicking to my head. The way I'm going to defend is real simple. I'm going to pick up one arm. My one arm's going to be a shield, and the second one's just going to be like a safety catch. And basically, I'm going to put them together. So when he throws the kick at me, I'm doing this. And as it comes in again. Okay, what I'm doing from the side is I'm pointing my elbow this way, keeping my hand up against my face, and I'm pushing with his hand. I'm making sure that I don't push straight through, so I open up my head. I'm just doing that, keeping it nice and tight. When that kick comes in again, I'm doing that. Nice, because I can still come back with my hands. I'm still in a position to counterattack. Okay, moving around. There we go. If he comes off the other side, I switch it now. Okay, as he comes up again, I switch. Comes this side, and I switch. Other side, again. Both of these, real easy to come back with hands. This is important. Always want to come back to the boxing. Best way to beat somebody who's a good kickboxer, somebody who's got really good legs, is to work your boxing. Get into the clinch. Get into an environment that he's unfamiliar with. This is something you want to work as much as possible. And the worst thing I could possibly do here is when somebody's kicking me, is keep backing up. As I back up and give him space to kick again and again and again. I want to close that distance. Close the distance. Keep nice and tight. We'll do this one more time. Nice and tight. Closing the distance on that. I close the distance. As I close, I'm in range to hit. I don't want to do this as he kicks and do that. That becomes dangerous. The second one's going to come in, and again, exactly what he did now. He's going to start following up with combinations. I don't want to be in that position. I'm going to neutralize combinations by doing this. Okay? It's real hard for him to come back with a combination if I crash, because now he's backing up and trying to hit. Most people can't back up and hit. This is one thing that you're going to learn when you spar. So basically what you want to do is just crash that line. Get in there. Get in as close as you can. Just crash it. We have a no-holds barred team that's doing really, really well in NHB, a lot of matches that we've won. So I think, yeah, definitely, I mean, from the progression from where I started to where we are now, it's light years apart. Definitely getting better all the time. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at the same thing now, the round kick. We're going to look at the midsection. When somebody kicks a midsection, it's really dangerous to get kicked here. The reason is really easy for him to break your ribs. So what you need to do basically as he throws that round kick, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just drop a little bit. He throws the kicks, I drop. Okay, I want to use my forearms. As he kicks this side, I drop. The reason why I'm dropping a little bit is, again, I'm trying to cut as much up onto his leg as possible. I'm not taking it yet. When he throws a kick, I'm not doing this. That's where his power base is, right here. If he kicks me there, that's where it's going to hurt. I want to make sure as it comes in, I cut into it. Okay, straight off, as I cut into it, I'm going to be able to hit. Move around. Cut into it. Yeah, it also protects my ribs, because even if I just stand here and if he throws a kick, he might slip underneath that and catch me. So I want to try and get into that kick, move around, get into it, and work my hands. Yeah, what we're going to do now is, we talked about really the two kicks that you have to worry about, the front kick and the round kick. We'll look at the defense now for the front kick. Again, it depends on where he's kicking. We're going to start with the low stomp kick first, which is to the knee. We're going to show you how to defend that. Start off here. Let's do the kick first. Basically, what he's trying to do is he's trying to kick the top of my knee, and as he does that, that's going to drive my leg back, and when it stops moving, that's when I'm going to get injured. That's where it's going to snap. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to pick my leg up. So as he kicks, what I'm trying to do is just point my toe back, try and get enough leverage behind it. I don't just want to do this because it'll still slam my leg back into the mat. So as he comes in, I just point it. Moving around. Again. And when we go to the midsection front kick, obviously, again, if you get caught here with a midsection front kick, that's really going to hurt. What you need to do here is, again, keep to the tight defense. Nothing really changes. As he throws that front kick, I'm just going to put my forearm in the way. Move around. Again, any chance that I can, I want, especially off the rear front kick, as it comes in, I'm popping it a little bit off to the side. As it comes in, pop, and then I would return with my hands. Comes in and kicks. There we go. Moving all the time. The reason why I like the downward elbow motion, especially if we barefoot, what's going to happen is his toes are going to run right into my elbow, and that's always going to hurt him a lot. So if you look at that really carefully, this is what I'm doing. Putting my elbow in the way. Okay? I don't like to defend like this. Although it's not incorrect, it tends to open you up. If you've been listening to what I've said, the guy's going to always come back. He's going to come back with his hands. So if he throws a front kick, I want to do things like that. As he throws that front kick, doing things. Although it works and it's still a good motion, the problem with that is that you're going to basically set yourself up for the hands. Here's a good example. He throws a kick, I maybe miss, this happens. Okay? In this position, there's little chance of me missing, and I'm always in a position that if he decides to drop off that front kick and come back with hands, I'm in a good position. So if he throws a front kick, I'm still in a good position to defend. If I make a mistake here, I'm going to pay for it. So I want to make sure it's nice and tight, getting my elbows in the way. There we go. That's it. If he goes low, I pick my leg up. As he comes low, leg up. I can move out the way, get leg up again, move around. As it comes midsection, elbow in the way. Move it again. We're going to cover a drill now. It's a real basic drill. Again, I'll show you how to make it more advanced. Really good drill to get the timing of the kicks. All I'm going to do is I'm going to move around. I'm going to be throwing a jab. My partner's going to move around and just insert the rear round kick first. As we go, we're going to progress, and you'll see we'll put all the kicks in, and later on we can work it just off the hands. I know that in the beginning of the tape I said always use your hands to set up your kicks. This is not what this is about. This is just a drill to teach you timing and body motion to get out the way of the hands. Where this is important is where you throw in a kick and then your partner counterattacks, or the fighter counterattacks with a jab or a cross or a punch. This is where it becomes very important. Really important drill because it teaches you good body mechanics, and you'll find that your kicks will improve just from doing this. This is a real basic drill. We move around, jab, and he's just going to insert the rear round kick. I'm not going to put too much pressure on. As he got better with it, we can step up the pressure and go a little bit faster and a little bit harder. So move around. There we go. Yeah, you'll see what he's doing, which is really good. Sometimes he defends and then comes back with a kick. At other times, he uses that body motion where he's bending back to slip the punch and throw the kick, which is also a good thing to do. So if we do that slowly, it's real simple what was happening. He either defends and then comes back with a kick, so defends and then kicks. And you see what he's doing? He's working that catch. Because why? Because he's in the rim shot range. That rim shot range means he's out of the range of the jab. That's where you want to work a catch. So he works a catch. And if you remember from the rim shot range, that means he's in range to throw the kick. That's why he can catch me if I don't move back. So move around, he catches, and returns a kick. The second one is he's going to work that movement, that step to the side, and the backward lean to slip the jab. And as he slips, he puts the kicks in. So now we're moving around, he slips and kicks. That's also a really good move. Again, slip and kick. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put that rear round kick in, and we're going to do the lead round kick. And it's just going to put it in wherever it feels. Again, it's really important to break it up, not keep a rhythm, put the kicks in wherever possible. But the most important thing is don't just keep doing the same thing over and over. Break it up, change it around. Sometimes throw two round kicks off the rear leg, then come with a lead round kick. Keep switching it up as much as possible. So we move around now, and he's just going to insert. There we go. That's nice. There we go. That's it. Okay, now we're going to take that and we're going to add the lead stomp kick in. So we got all that plus that lead stomp kick. Everything we've done there. There we go. Every time you see he's leaning back, he's never giving me an opportunity to hit him in the head. That's really important. Keeping that rim shot range, that's the most important thing. Is keeping out of the range of the jab. If you're out of the range of the jab, you can easily put the kicks in. There we go. Now he's going to put that side kick in as well. So the lead side kick's coming in. Here we go. That's it. There we go. Now we're going to put the inverted kick in. Move around. With the round kicks, side kicks. Okay. All right, once you got that, you can progress. Now we can put jabs and crosses in. We work the jabs and crosses, and he's working the kicks. There we go. And try and slip that cross and put a round kick in. Here we go. Perfect. Obviously, I'm going to mix that jab cross up. Sometimes I'm going to go cross jab. Or double jabs cross. Back to the basics we've done. Here we go. Moving around. And you can slowly take that drill, progress to where you're putting all the punches in. Generally, most of the time though, when you're throwing kicks, if you're in the right range, he should only really be able to hit you with a jab. Most people that come in will quit for basically the same reason as the ego. When I say people quit because of the sparring, they don't quit because they get hit. They quit because their ego is hurt, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. There are people that come to learn how to defend themselves, but if it was only about defending myself, that's just ridiculous, because anybody can pull out a firearm, anybody can just shoot you. All those years of training are going to mean nothing. So we use the training for personal growth, for self-discovery, basically to become better human beings.